sexy compatriots, this is the cup of coffee you all know I love, minty coffee, and I am back with another casual commentary. The topic of today's video, as the title suggests, Pyro Secondaries, and like before, my own tier list of my least and most preferred to use from the bunch. You know, Pyro certainly has a variety to choose from, with 3 shotguns and 4 flare guns, all with their own unique quirks and purposes. As a quick disclaimer though, I will talk about the Panic Attack's proposed redesign and what I think of it rather than the current Panic Attack. With that in mind, let's get right into it. The stock shotgun. You know, there's something to be said about reliability. The stock shotgun is probably the safest choice in the game for every class that can use it, though on some classes like Soldier it does have weapons that do better for the class, and on Heavy, there's really no point in using the stock shotgun unless you're being a true flanker. In the case of Pyro, however, the stock shotgun is the most reliable tool for taking on most enemies in close to mid-range combat, and it pairs well with the stock flamethrower for the most consistent DPS and supporting your team. Of course, choosing the shotgun means you trade the long-range harassment capability of the flare guns. However, using a shotgun gives you greater insurance when fighting other pyros, so I think it's a good trade. The stock shotgun has always been my favourite choice as the most reliable weapon of the bunch, and will go right here at number 1. The reserve shooter. Oh boy, talk about cheap. Alright, cheap shots aside, this weapon is just meh. It's a side grade to the shotgun that mini-crits targets sent airborne by air blasts and explosions, and can be drawn 20% faster at the cost of having 2 less shells in the clip. With the mini-crits, the damage of this shotgun can reach up to 12.15 per pellet, with 10 pellets making as much as 121 damage. You heard right. With so much as a tiny puff from the degreaser and an instant meat shot from this thing, you can one-hit all the light classes with little effort. Well, I suppose I can't say little effort since it does actually take aim to get the max damage potential, but it's beyond cheap. To the point that it outclasses the degreaser flare gun combo in the minds of many puff and sting pyros. I just can't have fun playing with this thing, because while it is vastly superior to the stock shotgun if you use the degreaser, it just tells the enemy team that you don't care about their enjoyment or that you're using a crutchy crutch loadout, which honestly feels wrong to me, so I'll be putting this weapon right here at number 7. This should be a fun one. The Panic Attack. It writes sins, not tragedies. Bad band puns aside, the Panic Attack is a very gimmicky kind of shotgun that in its current design gains a faster fire rate and wider spread as you lose health, and loads shells individually like the Beggar's Bazooka. However, it's being redesigned, so let's take a look at that. The redesign of the Panic Attack will give the weapon a 50% faster switch speed, which I assume means both drawing and holstering, 50% more pellets per shot, 30% less damage, and will fire a wide, fixed shot pattern, though in competitive terms this is already a thing on all shotguns, so we'll disregard the stat. The interesting stat on this weapon is that the shot pattern will grow with successive shots, resetting when you stop firing or reload. This is a bit hard to read, but the way I interpret this statistic is that the weapon spread will grow, as in get wider with each shot, making each successive shot have reduced range but increased damage at short range due to a wider spread. Ergo, this shotgun will not be consistent for DPS at close to mid-range like stock, though it's a secondary in the truest sense of the word, only coming out as a Panic Attack or even as a good finisher on a low health target due to the 50% increased switch speed. As for the new stats, here's how they will impact the weapon specifically. The current Panic Attack does the same damage as the stock shotgun, with its max damage ramp up being 9 damage per pellet and base damage being 6. This means that the max damage this shotgun, as well as stock, will pull off, without crits or mini crits, is 90 damage from 10 pellets. Now let's add damage penalty to the equation. Since damage is done individually from each pellet, we'll take the 30% penalty off of the base 6 damage of each pellet, which is a reduction of 1.8 damage, which will be rounded up to 2, meaning pellets from the new Panic will do 4 damage. Now with the increased pellet count, you'll be firing 15 pellets, so 15 times 4 equals 60, meaning that the new Panic's max ramp up damage will be 6 per pellet, and 15 times 6 is 90 damage. Wait. So if you hit all your pellets, which in consideration will be tougher due to a wider spread, you'll be doing the same damage as the stock shotgun. Well, at first I thought this redesign was absolute trash, but actually doing the math, holy crud, this weapon could actually be a massive powerhouse in close range combat. While I'd still probably prefer the stock shotgun due to its reliability at close to mid-range, compared to the current Panic at low health, this redesign certainly boasts some heavy protection in close quarter situations. So I'll put it right here at number 2. The flare gun. Certainly a signal of a skilled pyro in good hands, the flare gun is about as basic as you can get for a pyro secondary. It shoots flares that set people on fire at long distance, and does a 90 damage critical hit on burning players that get hit. The classic puff and sting weapon that actually takes some good timing and precision to use, the flare gun's an old favourite, though with the buffs to the other flare guns to give them more utility in recent years, the flare gun itself has become a bit bland to me. I mean, I always enjoy using it now and then, don't get me wrong, and it's great with puff and sting, but with the utilities that every other flare gun offers, it sadly pales to them in my opinion, so I'll be putting it here at number 6. The Detonator. Long adored by flanking pyros, the Detonator is a pretty lovely flare gun alternative that trades the crits of the flare gun for mini crits on burning players, manual flare detonation, and the almighty flanking pyro strat known as det jumping. As another trade-off, it has a minus 25% damage penalty and a plus 50% damage done to self to make det jumping a risky maneuver, as it can chip off as much as 44 health per jump. What the Detonator lacks in damage, it makes up for mobility, pairing amazingly well with the almighty backburner to turn the pyro into a bulky spy who spent too many hours at the sauna. So I'll drop this lovely flare gun right here at number 3. The Scorch shot. Probably the latest pyro weapon to receive hate in recent updates past, the Scorch shot is the annoying sibling to the flare gun that arrives at the party 2 hours late, but it's okay because he brought blackjack and hookers while stoned off his gourd. The Scorch shot trades the flare's crits for mini crits like the Detonator, and its flare recedes into a second slowly descending flare once it hits its surface or target. On top of this, its flares also induce some nasty knockback, and can also destroy sticky bombs. As a trade-off, not only does it have a nasty minus 35% damage penalty to that of the flare gun, it also has a minus 35% self-force penalty, meaning that while it can do flare jumps like the Detonator, they are more like baby flare jumps, though considering the utility of the flares compared to the Detonator, it can be a worthwhile weapon to use, so I'll put it right here at number 4. Last but not least, the Man Melter. Being the long lost grandpa of the flare guns, this mechanical menace plays a bit differently to the other flares. In exchange for doing no mini crit or critical damage to burning players, this flare gun has plus 50% projectile speed, meaning its flares can travel much faster than other flares and over a further distance due to the arc velocity of the flares. Also, the alt fire allows you to put out burning allies to get 20 health like normal air blasts, but also to store 90 damage crits. Working like the Pyro's own Diamondback, it rewards him for doing something he's very good at, which is supporting his team. To be honest, the Man Melter doesn't deserve the resentment it really gets, as it's widely considered to be the single most useless secondary in Pyro's arsenal, and I don't really see why. It has good sustained use by storing crits. True, the flare gun is simpler as you can just crit a burning player, but the Man Melter rewards you for supporting your team, so I'll go ahead and put it here at number 5. So yeah, that's my list. The stock shotgun will always be my preferred secondary, and the new Panic Attack redesign is certainly shaping up to be a worthy contender. As for when I use a flare gun, the Detonator is always my prime choice to use, but you know what, I enjoy using all of them except for the reserve shooter. Let me know what your favourite pyro secondaries are in the comments below. Do you like shotguns? Do you like flare guns? What's your choice? This has been your favourite cup of minty coffee, and I shall see you next time, my sexy compatriots. Bye!
I am the man who arranges the blocks that continue to fall from up above. The food on your plate now belongs to the state, a collective regime of peace and love.